Hi everyone, today I'm standing next to this 2017 BMW 750i xDrive, which when it was new it cost $98,000. But 3 years later you could pick one up for around $30,000, which means the car depreciated a Volkswagen Golf every year. But today I'm going to see if owning a car like this could scratch the itch for someone who desires the need for power, but also requires a lot of space in the back to hold family, friends, kids. But let's talk about the depreciation first. The car really lost $70,000 in 3 years. Part of it being that usually the flagship models have the latest technology, which is not always very polished, and it tends to have long-term reliability issues. Also, there's a newer model that came out in 2019, which made this one obsolete. Now, some people argue that the newer model is not as pretty as this one, especially with the massive grills that the new 7 Series have. To me, looks are pretty subjective. I actually quite like this one, but I really don't mind the new one either. Even though you can get this car with a 3-liter 6-cylinder engine, this particular one is a 4.4-liter V8 twin turbo that produces 445 horsepower. And if you take the engine covers off, you could see that the turbos are actually nested right in the middle. It's a very innovative solution which allows you to pack a massive engine in a pretty narrow engine bay, but also introduces some long-term reliability issues. And sitting inside, you are definitely surrounded by luxury, but not necessarily the luxury I would expect today at $98,000. I feel like you can get a nice Genesis, which has a very similarly equipped interior. But you've got obviously this nicely appointed leather steering wheel, leather dash that feels extremely wide. I particularly like this touchscreen interface, which even though my car, my 2017 BMW M3 is the same model, has the same iDrive, doesn't have a touchscreen, this particular model does have the touchscreen. And speaking of the touchscreen, obviously there are many videos out there that talk about the functions of the touchscreen, so I will not talk about it. The only thing that I will mention is the absolutely amazing 360 camera system. It allows you to not only see every single angle of the car, but allows you to toggle it so you can really look around the car and see where the car is positioned. It's really fantastic if you're trying to squeeze yourself in a particularly tight spot. But other than that, it's just your traditional BMW iDrive. And I particularly like iDrive 4.0, which this is, because when it goes into a screensaver mode, it pops a nice analog looking clock. And then down in the middle, it's your traditional BMW layout. What I particularly like about the center stack here is these touch controls here, which allow you to adjust the temperature. And it pops a message on the screen, which shows you that you're blowing cold air or hot air. And of course in the middle you've got this massive shifter, you've got your iDrive controller, you've got your Sport, Comfort and Eco Pro settings, your parking assist, your camera, and this car is equipped with air suspension so it can go up or down. In the back you have plenty of room, this being the long version. Actually between 2016 and 2019 BMW only produced the long version. They didn't even call it long, they just called it I, but I meant that it was long. But you have so much room in the back. And now if you are hauling a family, especially with baby seats, you have so much more room compared to an SUV. You have plenty of headroom, you have so much legroom, and you can easily fit 3 baby seats in the middle bench. And when I said the seats were comfortable, yes, they're comfortable, but they are not sporty. Even when you adjust the bolsters to hug you completely tight, it is still not tight enough, especially if you want to enter or exit the on-ramps at a faster speed. The trunk is actually quite spacious. Even though we have so much room in the back, they've managed to squeeze a lot of space into the trunk. And if you are someone who needs room for strollers and whatnot, this trunk size would be quite sufficient. But enough talking, let's take this car for a drive and see how she does. Look at this, the steering wheel comes down. First thing you notice about this car is how floaty it feels. But it's not bad floatiness. It's funny because it seems to flow over bumps quite well, but it can still take a sharp turn. And yes, it does lean, but it seems like a controlled lean, if there's such thing. And when you start at a red light, you can easily gun it. Now, there is a slight delay. I can't pinpoint exactly what that is, but the car that's 0 to 60 in a low 4-second mark, I'm gonna test it soon, but there's a little on-ramp here, which I usually take quite fast in my M3. Let's see how this floater compares. It's a little of a break here. You can feel the nose dive in a little bit, and yes, the car does dive in. The seats are not as huggy as I mentioned earlier, and they don't hold me in place, but it's amazing. I took this on-ramp quite fast, and the car, again, feels floaty, but it feels controlled at the same time. And look how fast I'm able to enter the highway. 445 horsepower. Driving on the highway, as you would expect, is quite comfortable. I am cruising 75 miles an hour. I am in comfort, and this is really a fantastic experience, and I can see myself driving long distances in this car. The car definitely feels heavy. Every steering input feels heavy, but again, it's heaviness that's paired with quality. It's sort of hard to explain. And it's got plenty of power when you step on it. It actually is so fast, so you could easily get in a lot of trouble driving this car because you don't feel the speed. You can also put it in a sports setting, which stiffens the suspension, it adjusts the shifting points of the transmission, and it makes it feel like a much more of a smaller car than it really is. The transmission also has a sports setting, which means you can either have the car do the shifts for you, or you can use these paddle shifters, which feel solid, by the way, to do the shifting yourself. And I've got to say, this 8-speed transmission is, again, fantastic, although it doesn't seem as refined as the one that I tested in the Z4 a couple of weeks ago. But let's put the car in comfort and let's cruise, and let's talk about what this car really is. When I first picked it up from the dealer and drove it home, I actually texted my friend and I said, you know what, I got bored of the car on my way back home. And then I started thinking about it and I said, wait a minute, what exactly did I get bored of? The car is plenty powerful. The car sounds fantastic. It has a tremendously well-appointed interior. It's beautiful. The only thing that doesn't sit well with me are the seats and maybe the looks. But maybe that doesn't matter. Buying a car like this for $30,000 means that it's got a couple of battle scars, which is fine, and it means you can park it anywhere. It also means that you can satisfy your crave for speed and acceleration. A lot of times you can fly below the radar and speed and not be noticed by the law enforcement, who a lot of times are expecting a sportier car to be doing the faster speeds. And quite frankly, this car would be an amazing value for someone who has a family and is looking to get anything other than an SUV. You've got plenty of room in the back. You've got the convenience and comfort and luxury of a beautiful BMW flagship sedan. And quite frankly, yes, this car does have some issues, but it's not as bad as the other BMWs. I personally would not be afraid of buying this car, being a 3-year-old car with 50,000 miles, and safely putting another 50,000 miles on it. And now it's time for us to test the 0 to 60 time of this car, which means handing it over to our we're going to hand it over to this awesome device called Draghi. I actually got it from Keys Motorsports. I'm going to link it down below. But essentially what it allows you to do is it measures your car's key parameters, or acceleration, deceleration, and whatnot. Left foot on the brakes. Woo! Launch control active. All right. We definitely got something. Holy moly, 0 to 60 in 4.78 seconds. We've activated launch control, which means, holy moly, the car flew. I can't believe this. 0 to 60 in 4.78 seconds. This is a fantastic result. So what have we learned? Yes, this car is fast. This car is roomy. This car is comfortable. This car is luxurious. One thing this car is not is sporty. But if you're someone who has a family and needs this space, but also appreciates the power and luxury and whatnot, this, in my mind, is a bargain. This is a car that cost almost $100,000 and now you can get it for 30. It really doesn't get better than that. I would not be worried about some of the reliability issues that you could have with this car because it's nothing too serious. And for $30,000, you can get an amazing vehicle and you could roll up in style to any event. And at the same time, at a red light, you could surprise a lot of people. So on that note, I wanted to thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of this vehicle. Would you get it? Would you have this vehicle be your only vehicle? Maybe if it had the M Sport package. So let me know what you think down below. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Oh, in case you're wondering where my car is, it is back at the dealer. I'll tell you all about it when we meet next. Maybe I should buy something like this. This is so nice. Oh, this is really nice. $30,000. Amazing.